My dad writes the laws you quote. The laugh is sharp, performative, loud enough to echo. Camille Renee Hollister, 22 years old, leans back and tosses the line at Judge Frank Caprio like it's a trump card. Miss Hollister, this bench enforces them. Do you understand the charges against you? I understand this is a formality. That's not what I asked. Her attorney, David Kern, rises smoothly. Your Honor, my client is prepared to resolve this matter efficiently. We'd like to pay the fines and close the case this morning. Mr. Kern, sit down. This court is not a payment portal. The words land quietly, but they land hard. David Kern hesitates, then sits. Caprio taps his pen once. Officer Klein, confirm we have the body cam audio cued. Yes, Your Honor. Good. Before we pull the audio, tell us where you're watching from and subscribe to Order in Court if you're 50. The clerk steps forward. Docket 24 to 9551. Commonwealth versus Camille Renee Hollister. Charges: reckless driving in a school zone, failure to yield to a pedestrian in a marked crosswalk, disorderly conduct consisting of contemptuous remarks directed at an officer, intimidation via political leverage. Citation issued by Officer Luis Montero, Traffic and Patrol, on Monday at 8:47 a.m. Caprio leans forward. Miss Hollister, did you receive a copy of the citation at the scene? I did. And did you read it? I skimmed it. That's not the same. Mr. Kern, is your client prepared to address these charges in full today? David Kern stands again, more cautiously this time. Your Honor, we believe the appropriate resolution is a quick disposition. My client has no prior criminal record and is willing to pay all fines today. Counselor, I didn't ask about her willingness to pay. I asked if she's prepared to address the facts. Sit down. Caprio flips a page. There's a notation here. Prior administrative warning from last year. Miss Hollister was cited for speeding in the same school zone 42 inches, a 25. She paid the fine but completed no corrective course. Not a criminal matter, but context for judgment. Miss Hollister, what happened in that incident? Camille shrugs. I was late for class. I paid the fine. It's handled. Paying a fine closes a file. It doesn't change behavior. That's not punishment for today. It's pattern. David Kern tries again. Your Honor, my client acknowledges she could have handled Monday's situation better. She's here to take responsibility by paying the fines and moving forward. Mr. Kern, paying a fine doesn't teach anything except how to use a credit card. I want to understand what happened. Miss Hollister, walk me through Monday morning. Camille exhales, audibly annoyed. I was driving to campus on Hope Street. I was running late for an exam. The light was yellow. I went through. Some guy stepped into the crosswalk after I was already past. The cop pulled me over and made a big deal out of nothing. You were clocked at 52 miles per hour in a posted 25-mile-per-hour school zone. The street was mostly empty. Mostly doesn't mean safe. It's an active school zone with crossing guards on duty. You failed to yield to a pedestrian in a marked crosswalk. He wasn't in danger. I was already through. That's not what the evidence shows. Let me read you one line from a written statement submitted by Henry Bishop, the pedestrian. I was one step from a wheelchair. Camille waves a hand. That's dramatic. Nothing happened. David Kern objects. Your Honor, we're introducing speculative harm that didn't materialize. The pedestrian wasn't injured. Counselor, harm isn't just impact. It's risk. Mr. Bishop was in a marked crosswalk with the right-of-way. Your client's speed and failure to yield created imminent danger. That's not speculative. That's factual. Caprio turns to the officer standing near the side wall. Officer Montero, please read your narrative into the record. Officer Luis Montero steps forward, calm and precise. At 8:44 a.m., I observed a white SUV traveling northbound on Hope Street at an estimated 52 miles per hour in a posted 25-mile-per-hour school zone. The vehicle approached a marked crosswalk where a pedestrian, later identified as Henry Bishop, had entered with a walk signal. The vehicle did not slow. It passed within approximately 3 feet of Mr. Bishop, who had to step back to avoid collision. I initiated a traffic stop. When I approached the driver, later identified as Camille Hollister, she stated, "This is ridiculous." When I explained the violation, she photographed my badge and stated, "You don't want my dad on your case." Caprio pauses. "Officer Montero, did you perceive that statement as intimidation?" "Yes, Your Honor." Camille leans forward. "That was sarcasm. I was frustrated." "Let's hear it." Officer Klein played the body cam audio, just the relevant exchange. A brief hiss of static. Then Camille's voice, clipped and sharp. "You don't want my dad on your case." Caprio lets the silence hold for a moment. "Miss Hollister, your father is Congressman Edward Hollister, representing Rhode Island's 2nd District, correct?" "Yes." "And when you said you don't want my dad on your case, were you referring to his position as a member of Congress?" "I was being sarcastic." "Officer Montero, how did you interpret it?" "As leverage, Your Honor. An implied consequence for doing my job." "Sarcasm doesn't stop cars, Miss Hollister." Caprio turns to his clerk. "Miss Reyes, were there any contacts to this court or the department regarding this case prior to today's hearing?" The clerk flips through a log. "Yes, Your Honor. One voicemail from a number registered to the office of Congressman Edward Hollister, time-stamped at 9:34 a.m., Monday, approximately 47 minutes after the citation. Play the voicemail." A man's voice. "Controlled and professional. This is calling from Congressman Hollister's office regarding case 24-9551. We'd like to discuss a quiet resolution of this matter before it proceeds. Please return this call at your earliest convenience." David Kern is on his feet. "Your Honor, my client is not responsible for calls made by third parties. This is prejudicial and irrelevant to the charges." Overruled. Pressures on process are relevant. I'm not accusing anyone of criminal conduct. I'm documenting facts on the record. That's transparency. Camille shifts in her seat. "I didn't ask anyone to call." "Maybe not. But someone thought it would help." Caprio looks at the clerk again. "Is Mr. Henry Bishop available to give a brief statement?" "He is, Your Honor. By phone." "Put him through." A man's voice, steady and measured, fills the speaker. "Thank you, Your Honor. I'm a retired high school teacher. I was crossing Hope Street at the marked crosswalk near Wheeler School at 8:44 a.m. Monday. I had the walk signal. I was halfway across when I heard a vehicle approaching at high speed. I looked up and saw a white SUV bearing down on me. I stepped back. The vehicle passed within 3 feet of where I'd been standing. If I hadn't stepped back, I would have been hit. There were elementary school children waiting on the opposite corner. They saw the whole thing. 1 second of speed costs a lifetime of mobility." Camille mutters something under her breath. Caprio catches it. "Miss Hollister, if you have something to say it clearly." "I said he should have waited. He had the right of way. You didn't. There's no gray area here." Henry Bishop continues. "Your Honor, I don't want money. I want accountability. That school zone exists to protect children. Speed limits aren't suggestions." "Thank you, Mr. Bishop. Your statement is on the record." The line clicks off. Caprio picks up another document. "Miss Reyes, this is a text message screenshot submitted by the prosecution. Can you read it? From Camille Hollister to an unnamed contact, timestamp 9:02 a.m. Monday. Got ticket. Dad says he'll fix it. NBD." Camille's jaw tightens. "That was private. It was discoverable." "Miss Hollister, let me lay out a timeline. Traffic stop at 8:47 a.m. Your text sent at 9:02 a.m. Voicemail from your father's office at 9:34 a.m. Someone moved fast. I didn't ask him to. But you expected it, and you told someone not to worry because your father would fix it. That's not frustration, that's entitlement." David Kern stands again, slower this time. "Your Honor, I'd like to request that the remainder of this hearing be handled in chambers to minimize public exposure. Media attention could create unfair bias. Mr. Kern, sunlight is due process. We're staying on the record. Caprio fixes Camille with a calm, steady gaze. I'm going to ask you 3 yes or no questions. Were you driving 52 miles per hour in a 25-mile-per-hour school zone? Yes. Did you fail to yield to a pedestrian who had the right-of-way in a marked crosswalk? He stepped back. I didn't hit him. That's not a no. Did you fail to yield? Yes. Did you invoke your father's position as a congressman during the stop? Camille hesitates. I made a comment. That's not a no. Did you invoke his position? Yes. Your Honor, this feels like I'm being targeted because of who my dad is. Camille's voice hardens. People speed through school zones every day and don't end up in court like this. You're not targeted. You're noticed. Most people don't drive 52 inches at 25. Most people don't nearly hit a pedestrian in a crosswalk. Most people don't invoke a congressman's name during a traffic stop. Most people don't have their family office call the court an hour later. That's not targeting. That's consequence. David Kern shifts uncomfortably. Your Honor, Miss Hollister is a college student with no criminal record. A single lapse shouldn't define her future. I agree. That's why I'm treating this as a learning gap, not a character verdict. The prior speeding warning was a whisper. This citation is a sentence. If we don't speak clearly now, the next consequence might be a child in that crosswalk who doesn't step back fast enough. 5 seconds. 7. 10. 12. No one moves. No one speaks. Camille stares at the table. David Kern's pen hovers. Officer Montero stands still near the wall. Then Caprio speaks, quietly. Accountability gets quiet so truth can be heard. Here's my finding. The evidence supports all 4 charges. Officer Montero's narrative is credible and corroborated by body cam audio, crosswalk CCTV timestamp, and Miss Bishop's statement. Miss Hollister drove recklessly at more than double the speed limit in an active school zone. She failed to yield to a pedestrian who had the right-of-way in a marked crosswalk, creating imminent danger. She directed contemptuous remarks at Officer Montero. She invoked her father's position in a manner that Officer Montero reasonably perceived as intimidation. Caprio pauses. This court does not weigh cases based on titles, connections, or family position. Conduct is the only currency here. Miss Hollister, your father's office does not get to intervene. Your status does not erase harm. Influence doesn't amend reality. He turns a page. I also note the prior speeding warning from last year. Same zone, same speed. You paid the fine but learned nothing. That warning was instructional. This ruling is educational. The base fines total $850, reckless driving in a school zone, $400, failure to yield to a pedestrian, $150, disorderly conduct, $100. Intimidation via political leverage, $200. Camille exhales sharply. Caprio holds up a hand. I'm not finished. I'm staying a portion of that total $350, contingent on your full and timely completion of a restorative accountability plan. If you complete it, that portion is remitted. If you don't, it's reinstated, and you pay the full amount. Here's what the plan requires. First, a written apology to Henry Bishop, not a form letter, not a public relations statement, a real apology that names what you did and what you learned. You will deliver it in person if Mr. Bishop agrees to meet you. If he declines, you'll mail it and the court will confirm receipt. Second, 60 hours of community service with the Providence School Safety Program. You'll assist with crosswalk awareness education, help coordinate crossing guard schedules, and work directly with elementary schools to teach pedestrian safety. The program director will submit a log to the court. Third, you'll assist with 3 driver education seminars focused on school zone safety and pedestrian right-of-way. No cameras, no branding, just education. Fourth, You'll write and record a 60-second public service announcement on pedestrian safety in school zones. The script will be vetted by this court. No mention of your family, no branding, no grandstanding. Just truth about why speed limits exist. Fifth, you'll complete a driver reflection course covering the physics of speed, the function of crosswalks, and the ethics of compliance. Certification of completion will be filed with the court. Sixth, you'll submit a 700-word written reflection on what you learned through this process. Not slogans, not fluff, plain truth. Caprio sets his pen down. Mercy isn't a discount, it's a contract. Additionally, I'm making the following recommendations on the record to the Municipal Court Administration, the Traffic Division, and the Office of the Congressman. 1. Establish a weekly ex parte contact log for all cases. Any off-record communication attempts related to pending cases will be documented and posted publicly. 2. Implement a mandatory recusal or supervisor cosign protocol. If any officer, clerk, or court staff member is contacted by an elected official or their office regarding a pending case, that staff member must either recuse themselves or obtain a supervisor's co-signature on all related actions. 3. Develop a pedestrian safety enforcement matrix citywide. School zones with crosswalks should have enhanced monitoring, automated speed detection, and rapid citation protocols. 4. Launch a court hotline for influence attempts. Any effort to pressure, intimidate, or leverage political connection can be reported anonymously. Every report will be investigated. 5. Distribute a high school education module on pedestrian awareness that covers right-of-way laws, the consequences of speed in school zones, and the importance of neutral enforcement. If you think power should never touch justice, subscribe to Order in the Court so this model spreads. The door opens. A man in a dark suit enters mid-50s, salt and pepper hair, the practiced posture of someone used to podiums and press. Your Honor, I'm Congressman Edward Hollister. I'd like a moment to discuss my daughter's case. Caprio doesn't stand. Congressman, this is an active hearing. You're welcome to observe, but I won't discuss the case with you outside the record. I'm not asking for special treatment. I'm simply asking to resolve this matter quietly, for everyone's benefit. Congressman, quiet resolutions are how patterns continue. This case is being handled on the record, in open court, like every other case. Camille interrupts. Dad, stop! This is my case, not yours. Congressman Hollister turns toward her, surprised. Caprio's gaze sharpens. This is not your case to manage, Congressman. Your daughter has counsel. She has a voice. Step back and let her use it. The congressman hesitates, then nods and moves to the back row. Over the next 8 weeks, Camille completes the plan piece by piece. Week 1. She drafts the apology. The court rejects it too vague, too much deflection, not enough accountability. She tries again. Better. Henry Bishop agrees to meet her at a coffee shop near Wheeler School. The conversation is brief, uncomfortable, and necessary. He tells her, You didn't see me as a person. You saw me as an obstacle. Weeks 2 through 6. Camille logs 60 hours with the Providence School Safety Program. She assists crossing guards during morning and afternoon shifts, helps coordinate safety audits at 3 elementary schools, and teaches crosswalk awareness to second graders. One crossing guard tells her, Every car that slows is a kid who gets home. Week 6. She co-assists 3 driver education seminars at local high schools. No cameras, no posts, just students, patrol officers, and pedestrian advocates talking through real scenarios. Week 7. She records the PSA. The first draft includes language about my family's commitment to safety. The court sends it back. She records it again, plainly. No family name, no branding. Just her voice and the truth. The second draft passes. The driver reflection course takes another 2 weeks. She completes it without complaint. The ledger is simple. 60 hours logged, 3 seminars completed, 1 behavior corrected. Henry Bishop tells the court, "She showed up. She listened. That's more than I expected." Should every VIP reckless driving case include community service in schools, yes or no? Tell us below and subscribe to Order in the Court. 8 weeks after the initial hearing, Camille returns to court. This time, she's alone. No counsel, no father, no entourage. Caprio reviews the submitted documents: the apology, the service log, the PSA recording, the course certificate, the written reflection. "Miss Hollister, I've read your reflection. I want to hear you summarize it in your own words." No script. Camille stands. "I thought speed limits in school zones were about tickets. I didn't understand they exist because kids misjudge speed, because stopping distance increases exponentially, because 1 second of impatience can end a life. When I failed to yield to Miss Bishop, I didn't just break a rule. I forced a man to choose between his right of way and his safety." She pauses. "I also didn't realize how much I leaned on my father's position. I've spent my whole life assuming someone would smooth things over. When I said what I said to Officer Montero, I wasn't being sarcastic. I was using power I didn't earn. That's intimidation." What did you learn from Mr. Bishop? That people aren't obstacles. He had every right to be in that crosswalk. I had no right to make him step back to survive. What did you learn from the crossing guards? That every car that slows is a kid who gets home. Speed isn't just about time. It's about lives. Caprio nods. You stopped borrowing power and started earning character. He signs a form. I'm remitting $250 of the stayed portion. You still owe $600 total. You'll pay it in installments over 6 months. The court will monitor compliance. Thank you, Your Honor. Don't thank me. Thank the people who taught you what I couldn't. 4 months later, the policies take root. The weekly ex parte contact log is published on the municipal court website. Officers receive training on the recusal and supervisor cosign protocols. 3 cases are flagged in the first quarter. All are reassigned without incident. The pedestrian safety enforcement matrix is adopted citywide. School zone monitoring increases by 60%. Crosswalk violations drop by 34% in the first 6 months. The court hotline receives 8 reports of influence attempts in the first quarter. 5 lead to formal reviews. Camille's PSA is distributed to 21 high schools and included in driver education curricula. It's not viral, it's not celebrated, but it's used, and that's enough. One parent emails the court. My daughter watched that video and slowed down near her school. She said she didn't want to be that driver. Thank you. On a quiet Friday afternoon, Caprio finishes his last case of the week. Before leaving, he writes a single principle on a note card and pins it to the bulletin board behind his bench. Power that doesn't listen becomes cruelty. He thinks of Camille Hollister, of Henry Bishop stepping back to survive, of elementary school children watching from the corner. He turns off the light and locks the door. Dramatization for storytelling and education, not legal advice or reporting.